Hello everyone, wishing you all a very happy new year again and welcome back to Chemistry CC for you. I haven't been posting for a very long time. I had my own some few reasons and got caught up in my PhD work. So I was not able to catch up with you guys. So since the examination season is starting once again, I thought I'd try to upload more videos. So today the video what we are going to do is very important considering all the MCQ type of questions which come from the SPF D and F block elements. So it is better in these areas to cover as many questions as possible, write down the points and cover additional points related to whatever options you see. So we have set the questions in such a way that the repeated questions are being covered and some additional points related to that also will be taught to you while we are covering the questions. And secondly, all the videos that we have done before from the SPD and F block elements, both lecture as well as the questionnaire videos, all will be shared in the description box below. Please do watch them, and you can ask any video request you have in the comment section below. I'll try to upload twice a week. Starting now. So let's begin. So the first question over here is, which of the following halides show metallic luster and high conductivity? So this is a multiple answer question with A, C, and D all being the correct answer for this question. So both all three C, PR, and GDI2, all these are showing metallic luster and high conductivity. So this kinds of multiple answer type questions can also be expected in JAM and also JEE. CSIR net, this straightforward question might not come, but MSc level other entrance examination, you can expect this kind of a question. And my voice is a bit heavy. I hope you are able to understand me well. In case you have any doubt in what I'm explaining, please comment below. So this is the first question. Let's quickly move on to the second question. Which of the following shows +3 oxidation state alone? So the question is not that which of these can show +3 oxidation state. The question you should always read the question very carefully. One term alone is given. It means that out of these four, there is one element which cannot show any other oxidation state, and only +3 oxidation state is shown by this particular element. So that element is option C, actinium. And this is one of the most common oxidation state, and for all trans-americium elements this is the most stable oxidation state. So I want you to remember this point. Actinium shows +3 oxidation state alone, and this is the most stable oxidation for all trans-americium elements. And this is not most stable but marginal stability for early actinides like TH, uranium, thorium, etc. So this is marginal stability for early actinides, and for trans-americium elements, this is the most stable oxidation state. Now let's go to the third question. Which coolant is used in the advanced gas cooled reactor or AGR? So why do we have a reactor question over here? Because we know the F block elements are radioactive, so this question is important. And the question is self-explanatory if you are considering all the options over here. It is advanced gas cooled reactor. So the answer would definitely be option B, carbon dioxide, which is a gas. And why? So why this question was included? It is because if a concept type of question is asked for you, you need to know why a gas cooled gas is used for a cooling purpose rather than water. So the reason is very simple. There are two different points you need to remember. One, gases are less prone to chemical reaction with other materials which are in the reactor. Because water has very high affinity for all the chemical reaction. That is one point. That is, gases have less chemical reactivity if you are considering that. And second is that gases are very much more flexible in terms of temperature and pressure ranges. So for water, if you're using it as a coolant, all the changes that you are trying to do, there is a specific range at which you can subject this. So if you're comparing this, there is the water and gases, there is a large flexibility of temperature and pressure range which you can use for a gas as a coolant. Let's go to the fourth question now. Pitch blende is a mineral of. This is a very common kind of question asked in CUSET examination specifically. So they usually ask you for the minerals for particular metal. So pitch blende, it is a mineral of uranium. So I wanted to remember 2-3 points over here. First, pitch blende, it is radioactive, it is uranium rich, and it is the ore of uranium. Now, chemical composition of any ore is very important, because sometimes they'll just ask you what is pitch blende. Then they'll give you a series of options, oxides over there, and you might have to just answer which one is which. So UO2 is the main composition of pitchblende uranium oxide, and since it is prone to oxidation, it has some proportion of U3O8 as well. This is also very important. You people have to remember this as well. So if you have an option with UO2 plus U3O8, go for it. And since it is radioactive, there also would be some traces of lead oxides and helium as well. So pitchblende is a mineral of uranium with UO2 being the large proportion and U3O8 in the variable proportion. Now towards the fifth question. The correct order of ionic radii is. So this is a very, very important and repeated question. So the order is option D, with Y3 plus being the smallest and the largest being La3 plus. So you know Y3 plus is above the length. So this is obviously the smallest. And why this is in the range of Lu3 plus smaller than European smaller than La3 plus. So this is due to the phenomena called as lanthanide contraction. So if the reason is asked, this question can be asked in two different ways. One, where the reason can be asked why this is this kind of a decrease is seen, then you need to remember that it is due to the lanthanide contraction. And why we know it is the first member of 4D series, so this will be the smallest. Which is very simple. One, the range La3 plus is the largest because as we move from the left to right, there is something called the lanthanide contraction. Conceptual video, if you need about lanthanide contraction, etc., I can make one soon. But right now, just remember that it is due to lanthanide contraction. So the ionic radii decreases from La3 plus to Lu3 plus, and Y is the first member of 4D series. So this is the smallest. Now towards the sixth question. Organolanthanide compounds are different from their organotransition metal analogs except. So what do you mean by organolanthanide and organotransition? Initially, let me just explain you that. So we know that the organometallic compounds means there will be metal and then some organic substituents or some components of organic compounds would be there. So they'll be clubbed together or they'll be forming one compound, and corresponding to lanthanide, that is in one group there will be one lanthanide element, and then correspondingly there should be a transition element also. So here we are talking in the same group, the transition, organotransition and organolanthanide compounds, they will be different uh, from each other except in one point. They are different except one. So 4 points are given. They are far more air or water sensitive. Second, chemistry in the zero oxidation state is far more limited. They form no stable compounds at room temperature, and they are not often not pyrophoric. So the answer is option D. So organolanthanide compounds are different from their organotransition metal analogs except that they are not pyrophoric. So pyrophoric is actually means it's a substance that can ignite or catch fire. Ignition means it is catching fire spontaneously in air just below 54 degrees Celsius, and within 5 minutes after it comes into contact with air for liquids and solids. So you just have to remember organolanthanide compounds are different from organotransition except that they are often not pyrophoric. So transition would be pyrophoric and which can ignite spontaneously in air below 54 degrees Celsius, and for as gases or 5 minutes within contact of air if they are liquids or solids. Let's go to the next question now. Which of the following solution in kerosene is chiefly used for the extraction of PU4 plus thorium, etc.? So this is very important question. These kinds of MCQs are often expected in all MSc level entrance examination. So the answer is option A, tributyl phosphate. Can be also written as TBP. So TBP in kerosene is chiefly used for the extraction of PU4 plus and thorium. Next is another very important question. Only naturally occurring fissile isotope is. We are not talking about artificially made radioactive compounds, but elements. We are talking about naturally occurring fissile isotope. So it is uranium-235. This is the only naturally occurring fissile isotope, and it makes up only 0.7% of the natural uranium. So 0.72 natural abundance is there. It makes up only 0.7% of the natural uranium, and U235 is the naturally occurring fissile isotope. Just remember this. Next question. Point group of uranocene is very important. Now we are going to a bit of higher level question. So uranocene, you have heard about ferrocene. So it's similar to uranocene is also an organometallic compound, and it is eclipsed D8H. So D8H is the point group of uranocene, and the other ones for ferrocene it is D5D. I just want you to remember this one also, since we have already mentioned four options. I want you to remember ferrocene belongs to D5D point group, and uranocene is an eclipsed D8H. Now, a little bit about uranocene. So, uranocene has the formula UC8H8 twice, and it's a organouranium compound composed of a uranium sandwich between two octatetraenide rings. So, cyclooctatetraene means you have two rings of C8H8, 2 minus, and sorry, minus. 2 minus is not 2 minus. So you have two C8H8 minus rings, and in between that you have a uranium. And this is one of the first organoactinide compounds to be synthesized. Let's look at the structure. So in the solid state, these rings are eclipsed, and that is why they have a D8H symmetry, which we have already discussed in the previous part. So just look at the structure. So this is the structure of uranocene. So just remember this. And if this question is asked for CSI net like examination, remember this reaction as well. Now towards the 10th question, which of the following is not a consequence of lanthanide contraction? So there is one out. So this question is extremely important because out of the four options, three are the consequence of lanthanide contraction. So when we understand the answer, which is not a consequence, write the other three because they are consequences of lanthanide contraction. So poor shielding effect of 4f electrons have nothing to do with lanthanide contraction, but all the other, like the atomic radius of ZR is 159 and that of HF is 150. This is a consequence of lanthanide contraction. Separation of Dy3 plus and HO3 plus are difficult because of similar size. This is also a consequence of lanthanide contraction. Hardness, melting point and boiling point of elements increase from cerium to lutetium. This is also a consequence of lanthanide contraction. So the option D, poor shielding effects of 4f electron, is not a consequence of lanthanide contraction. Other three are. So please write this down. It's important for you to understand the consequences of lanthanide contraction, because from F block elements, the main questions come from this part. Other than the radioactivity part, the main question is always asked from the area of lanthanide contraction. So I want to emphasize on this. Please write down the points so that you can revise it later on. Now towards the 11th question, an alloy of cerium, lanthanum and other rare earth metals along with magnesium is used as an additive in various alloys. For example, in flints for cigarette lighters or jet engine parts. So what is this alloy? The name of this alloy you have to say. The alloy of cerium, lanthanum and some other rare earth metals along with magnesium. So the answer is option C, which is niche metal. So just remember that this is having lots of applications and they are used as an additive in various alloys like the flints for cigarette lighters and jet engine parts. So just memorize this. This is common, like it can also come as a general science question in your examination. Please keep this one in mind as well. Now, the final question of this video. The YAG or the yttrium aluminum garnet laser is made up of synthetic crystalline material doped with which element? So you know about yttrium, aluminum, and the garnet. Yttrium and aluminum we already know. Now the third element is one of the F block element. You need to know which one is that. So option A is the answer. So the laser is neodymium and used for, what is the use of this? It is for skin resurfacing or tissue penetration, and is important in many therapeutic application, which makes it extremely important. So again, YAG or YAG laser is made up of synthetic crystalline material, and the doping or the mixing is done using neodymium, which is an F block element. So we'll wind up the video here. Like I said, I'll try to post regularly hereafter. And please ask any videos you want from the comment section below. Watch all the videos related to this. And thank you so much for the support, even when the videos were not regularly posted. I'm very grateful for all the support you have given so far, and hope you will continue supporting the channel like this. Thank you, everyone. Please share, please like the video, and comment for any queries you have. Thank you, everyone. Once again, Happy New Year. Do really well this year. Thank you, everyone.